Okay, it is the December meeting of the Ohio Mises Caucus. And Omicron's here. It's in the computers. It's in Skynet. We're all gonna die. End of the world. We need 20 more lockdowns. You need to lock down each individual part of your body. That's the only way to stay safe. You have to put separate bags around each hand. That's the new thing I'm hearing from somewhere. Or I'm just making all this shit up and it's still not crazier than reality. Yeah, how's life? I remember back when my brother was originally tweeting about, he put out some post about the yellow star thing, and everyone was freaking out. My family's Jewish, so had a bit of extra pushback on it. And well, now they are rounding up the unvaccinated and putting them into camps. Have you guys heard the reports about from people that have connections to the National Guard in the US about how the US military is doing drills for doing a lockdown of the unvaccinated?
The only thing I heard about that was Clint when he was on Dave's show on Sunday. That was the first and only time I've heard of it.
I think that was the only one for me as well, but we've all heard it now because that's how podcasting works, and new media is lovely, except when it's not. But that's a question of post-libertarians we'll hit later.
I too heard that from Clint on that podcast. I reached out to a couple people and they confirmed it.
Oh, so you reached out to other military people and they said that they had the same experience?
It is a real thing, correct?
Shit.
Is it drill? They're doing drills.
Yeah, they're practicing having a lockdown of only the unvaccinated inside the U.S. enforced by the national military. That does sound like I did say what I said. If it takes a second, that doesn't seem right. It's no, that's current year.
Well, they better send bachelors.
Yeah. Hey, we're not Australia. We have items that they don't have access to. So don't know what'll happen. I'm not saying anything. But if you read the Nuremberg trials carefully, they might apply to a number of US officials. So moving on. Oh god, I just noticed I had a typo in the email I sent out about all this stuff. I make so many typos in our emails. I need to fix that. So a couple more socials coming up this month, and then end of the year, New Year's next year. I'm thinking, would you guys like it if I convinced the state to throw together and we just had an all Ohio big bash somewhere around Columbus? Because I live near Columbus, so it's easy for me. How party host something. I don't know what we'll do yet, but
sure.
Yeah.
When are you talking?
I don't know. Early January, late February, one of the two probably, because that's when I'm free. And just a hey, we survived 2021 and good riddance party. Yeah, so that's on my mind that I'm planning on doing that, but I haven't actually put stuff together. Maybe a bit of a fundraiser or something to get stuff to fundraise for. Actually, fun thing. A Delta 8 dispensary moved in right next to the Ohio Libertarian Party state headquarters, which is also the Franklin County state headquarters. I am going to host the January Franklin County social in the Delta 8 dispensary. They said that we can use their back room for free. They're dispensary / cafe. I'm going to set up a karaoke machine and we're just going to have a party in the weed room. Got to take out some bongs and be libertarians. Just to piss off post-libertarians, start degeneracy. But I am rambling. So the big news coming up is the upcoming Central Committee election, the National Convention, the State Convention, and also, I guess, the state officer and executive committee elections as well. Really, the big one for now is the Central Committee election. I'll do the brief run through of all the rest so you know the status. Libertarian Party National Convention. If you are a random member without a position in the party, so you're not a state chair, or you're not someone running for office, or whatever, At this point, you probably have zero chance of becoming a national delegate. We have way more people applying than normal. The spots are filling up faster than normal. If you're able to get a chair position in your local county, you can probably still get a seat in the national delegation. And for the people that did sign up and fill out the interest form, you won't be hearing back about whether or not you made the cut until a few months into next year. And I'm probably going to be really stupid and sign up to be the delegation chair because I hate myself. So I'll probably be the one reaching out to everyone at that point in time. Unless someone else wants to do it, if you're the delegation chair, you get a guaranteed spot in the national convention. You are priority number one. Any takers?
Well, what is it? I mean, and I was going to ask you as well. You probably saw me talking about secretary,
Yes.
the needed secretary position. And I'm already secretary of the Warren County affiliate. I don't know if it's something I should take on. And I was going to ask you while we're on here.
So, yes. I will come back to that. That one's going to be a bit complicated to answer, because there's a couple different secretary roles available for the what's the word? For the delegate, yeah, for the position for the delegation chair, that's going to be essentially just at the national convention, staying in the convention floor all the time. Every time a vote happens, getting the Ohio votes counted. Just doing wrangling work at the convention, which is I don't know how much setup work there is before the convention. Helen, you might know more than I do about what's required for that. Helen actually knows, unlike me.
Hey, sorry I'm late too. I was packing to go to Boston.
Oh, we never start on time. Don't worry. We just chat.
The lead up to convention, there's not a lot to do. You probably would want to have a couple of sessions where you go over Robert's rules, convention etiquette, and what's going to happen, kind of walk them through the documents that they should be previewing so that you know what you're voting on before you get there and you're not influenced by the 10 people around you that are raising their hand and also didn't read the bylaws that you're voting on. So that way you know what you're voting on.
I have
In
the
addition
full
to-
unabridged copy of Roberts, and I'm
Yeah.
going to just hit myself on the head until it enters.
The best way to use it is to look it up when you need it.
Yeah.
If you just try to read it, you're just gonna put yourself asleep in a coma.
I have the abridged version also, so I'm gonna read the abridged version and use the full version for lookup. And Karen Ann is starting to do monthly training sessions, and it's actually happening the same time as this meeting for this month. But those are all recorded, and we only record the boring parts of this meeting. So, we'll send out the recording of that one probably with the monthly email.
There are
She
also a couple.
definitely is good for that.
Yeah.
There's also a couple Roner cheat sheets going around
Yeah.
that various people have made, and they have various insights in them. So collect them and learn from them. They're
Yeah.
a lot more palatable than reading the damn book.
For sure. I think that 80-20 principle, or even like 5-80, or 85 principle, with like 5% of the effort, you can understand 80% of what happens with Robert's Rules of Orders. And then there's all the weird stuff. And for the weird stuff, all you need to remember during the convention is know who to turn to and ask for help when the weird stuff happens.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't
That's
specialization. You should know what is a point of order, what is a point of information, what is a point of personal privilege. But then when someone has a weird question about the amending an amendment with a substitution, whatever, you're not going to be expected to know that. You're just going to need to know who to ask for help.
Yeah. The only other key thing that the delegation chair does is inevitably you get this long list of people that sign up to go, and then 20% say, oh, I don't have the money now, or my plans changed, and they aren't going to go after they get their seat. So then that delegation chair is the final word. Without any vote from anybody else, they are the deciding person on who those seats go to.
Shit, then I should be the delegation chair. Okay, Helen, you convinced me.
It really is a key role during the convention because you're getting the votes up to the dais, but the big part of it is you are the final decider of who actually is in your delegation. So
Yeah,
that means if you go to convention and you didn't seat all of your seats, you could pick up whoever you want from the convention floor to be your delegate or
Well, doesn't-
alternates, because we have
Don't-
alternate seats also.
don't they have to be Ohio? I thought you couldn't pick up people from other states.
No, we had the way that I met Victor Hinojosa from Texas, that we started the Christian Caucus based on our sitting by each other at convention, because he was from Texas and he came up and sat with Ohio. He was on our delegation.
Yeah, I still get confused with that stuff a bit, but no, Ohio, we are going.
You have to see Ohio first.
Yeah, well, we're gonna
So-
have a long list of people signed up for Ohio. I
That's
know
awesome.
that. Yeah, let me put it this way: the day that you released that form, I had a list of 50 people that had previously been called that said they were planning to go. That were the first people sent with the form. Yeah, it's gonna be fun this go around. Yay, politics.
Good.
But no, but that's the national convention. Essentially, at this point, still fill out the form if you haven't filled it out. It's not going to hurt, just in case. But if you are not, if you are not a county position, you're unlikely to get a spot. But it's also really easy to get a county position in the next 3 months. So
Even if you go as an alternate, it's worth going because there's always going to be some early morning votes where they're trying to slip something in while everybody's hungover and not showing up on the floor. And that's when we need those extra alternate votes there.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So if I
That's
may ask, you guys don't have a hard deadline on when your delegation will be completely filled out.
40 days before.
Okay, gotcha.
And even then, if someone drops out, it would be up to the chair of the delegation to fill those remaining seats and alternates.
And Chris has been the chair the last couple of go arounds, and he said he'd be happy to let me do it. So, okay, well, I signed myself up for more work because why not? So that's, and one other thing for LP National that is worth mentioning, I am getting a double queen room by myself, and I'm planning on paying the full cost. So if there is someone who is a little shy on cash, but can fly themselves there, but would have trouble booking a room, I will be sharing the other 3 people and maybe just crawl under a bed and hide like a 5th or 6th one. And I know other people will be doing the same thing. There is going to be every year or every convention, there are groups that help sponsor people getting out to convention. Some people call it shady, some people call it dirty, but it is reality. This is what has always been done. The Austin Peterson campaign did it, and the Gary Johnson campaign did it. Everyone does it back and forth. So the Mises Caucus also does it because there are people that are good libertarians that just don't have the money together, and you want to support them. So if you are at a position to go, like if you're high up on that list, so you're actually going to get a spot and you're like, want to do it, but like $400 short or something, talk to me first, talk to another one of the organizers first before you say, I can't do it. And also other thing with that, sorry, I'm going to get off the national convention soon. If you are a central committee person, if you're on the central committee of the state, you are guaranteed a spot at the national convention. You are high enough on a priority list, you will 100% get it no matter when you sign up. So if you want to go, just buy your tickets now. I already bought mine. If you are like a state chair, I think you're guaranteed a spot, but I'm not 100% sure. So like, but if you're like central, but if you're state CENTCOM or state XCOM, you're guaranteed a spot. Okay, let's see what is next. LP state convention. So Ohio's going to have a state convention. Our state conventions are weird AF because we don't elect our executive committee there, and we don't elect our delegates there. The only thing we do there is change our constitution and bylaws. It's also very easy to go there I think your county needs to sponsor you, but not even really. Like we can seat people that aren't from your county because we have like up to 500 people like spots to fill, and we only have like 60 people go each time. So if you show up and have a ticket, you have a seat, essentially. Unless you voted in a Republican primary or Democrat primary just before, then you can't, but otherwise you're good. So yeah, it will be very easy to get a spot. We're looking at maybe having Maj Toure. I'm gonna talk to the committee again and see if they want to host Scott Horton, because I like Scott Horton and I'd love to hear him speak.
It's, if I may, if you're dealing with Maj, you got to be like on his ass.
Oh
because
shit, I
he-
forgot. You're right. I
He
now
will
remember.
make commitments and then completely forget about them if you're not like on top of it and on top of his handler.
I did actually. I forgot 'cause back when I was in college at Young Americans for Liberty, we had booked Maj, and after like 2 months of dealing with it, he ended up not coming because it was just so difficult. Especially because like with a college, they have to send you half the money after like before, half the money afterwards and stuff. And like he was like, no, all up front. And it was a cluster. I guess are they? Carl, are you the one on that committee?
Yes, I am.
You know, convince him to do Scott Horton. I want Scott.
I'm gonna push if Maj can't do it. That's definitely gonna be my number 2.
Yeah, and I think that our convention is so late that I don't think there's anything else happening that weekend. Like Connor, you would know better than I would. Are there any other conventions happening last couple weekends? Where's the sorry, somewhere here I think there's a convention calendar. Do you have
I
the
don't
convention?
know outside the region. Michigan's, Indiana's, and Kentucky's will all be in March.
One sec. But somewhere there's a convention calendar, I think.
Another thing to keep in mind of at convention, we will vote on our regional representative. So if anyone is interested in being on the LNC,
That'd
right
be-
now it's Dustin, and who's the alternate?
I don't remember who the
It
alternate
is Jared
is.
Hall.
Yeah.
Connor is throwing his hat into the ring, and I am endorsing him as an individual, and probably also as I would not be surprised if the Ohio Mises Caucus ends up endorsing you, Connor, but we haven't officially talked about it, so I don't want to give it to you without discussing
Well,
our leadership.
I'd love to hear from Connor because I'm looking for a different person to vote for.
I
Well,
think Dustin might. I'm not sure if he's running again anyway, so
what I had last heard is, and I haven't talked to Dustin about this, so I wouldn't quote me on this, is that he is not intending to run. But I mean, it's long been my plan to jump into the LNC. My original plan was to run as the Region 3 alternate because Jared's got to go. I kind of view it, there's a lot of people even in Indiana who kind of view him as a do nothing and who jumps into drama.
oh, so he's an LNC member.
Yes. But I mean, there were several situations where if you were able to vote, he would have voted against the will of the region chairs. So my approach is that the region chairs vote is what needs to be abided by at all times. And the LNC needs to be sticking by our bylaws to a T instead of the very flexible idea that several LNC members view the bylaws right now. So I take a very strict literal view of how bylaws are interpreted. I mean, I'm on the judicial committee here in Michigan. Thankfully, I haven't been called up to adjudicate things yet, but I take a very strict view on such matters. And I think anyone who's been paying attention to LNC drama over the since Orlando can see that is very much needed. And other than that, I take a work with anyone and everyone who's willing to put in the time and work view of things. I mean, obviously, I'm a Mises Caucus member. I'm, our Region 3 organizer. I'm an organizer in Michigan. But I've made a lot of inroads with a lot of people by being willing to listen to people. Not 100% meet them where they're at, because I have my own views, of course, but to work past differences and make sure that the work of the party comes before the personal and partisan drama. So I think I would bring a refreshing view to the LNC. My particular views as far as what I want to achieve is I'm communications director in the Libertarian Party of Michigan. I've long been involved in our social media, and I want to bring my experience to the national party. And I don't think I'm ready to take the lead on it, but I want to lend my hand in any way that I can and further the cause, whether that's, drafting communications. In particular, I want to work on a national party podcast. What the national party puts out right now is, there's a couple things. There's Pat Ford. He does interviews of candidates, which is a very valuable job.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Is that not like the official podcast of the party? I don't actually.
It's an official podcast, but that's very focused on one thing, and it's very important, and I want to keep that. But one thing the party doesn't do is they don't address a lot of topical news items directly. So that's something I want to do in a podcast. It's something I've started rolling out in Michigan the last month. Is we have a state party podcast that I've been recording where I tackle various news stories and put the libertarian spin on the narratives that the mainstream is pushing out. So communicating ideas, try to reach as many people as possible with consistent and bold libertarian messaging. And I want to bring that to the national party. I am piloting it in Michigan, and so hopefully I can implement that at the national party.
Is that on YouTube?
I am on 8 different platforms. I can actually get you a link right now. I kind of base it in Anchor, but it is available on, you name it, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and anything that connects to those.
What's it called again?
The Free Mitten News.
My husband is a Spartan.
Oh, really? Share such glorious alumni as Gretchen Whitmer.
I'm not sure he would claim that as glorious.
I wonder why.
Oh, she's awful. But anyways, that's my main pitch for joining the LNC so far. I mean, I'm refining the message. I need to start campaigning. Like I said, I'm going to be hitting up all the conventions in the region and networking with people. So,
and that vote will happen at the national convention, probably the first day or two. Also, if someone's interested in the national convention, you are going to, if at all possible, you want to arrive. Let me double check these dates. This is
Wednesday night.
Yeah, you would want to arrive Wednesday night on May 25th and leave Monday morning on May 30th. It is historically generally not a lot of business happens on Thursday the 26th, but shenanigans are afoot, and if not a lot of people are there, but they have quorum, you can pass whatever you want. So, join my caucus and the people who don't drink alcohol caucus, and just show up bright and perky every morning.
In the military, there's a saying that you can party like a rock star, but you have to make the call of the bell.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. But yeah, if possible, you want to be there Wednesday night through Monday morning, which is unfortunately a little bit more expensive in terms of, hotel rooms. I think it's actually cheaper tickets. So that's nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
the earlier days, I think your hotel room is a little bit cheaper. It's like $99.
Yeah,
I went ahead
it's-
and booked the 20th to the 3rd. Like, just
Wait, what?
I did the whole time, because generally the week before, somebody does something really cool, like
Oh, really?
Adam did his book drop,
Mm.
Caucus did all the veteran stuff in, New Orleans. So there's always some really cool thing. I can see Spike and Natasha doing something cool. If
You mean
they don't,
Natasha,
hey,
Natasha's
we can do
husband?
it. Yes, Natasha's husband might show up.
Yeah. I did see some Natasha's husband Christmas tree ornaments. Don't know where they exist, but if you want one, they exist somewhere. But so that's LP National, LPO state conference, like I said, it's going to happen probably last or second to last weekend of April. I personally am hoping for Scott Horton as a guest, and I do think, Carl, I think that I could get an extra 20 people to attend with Scott Horton as a guest and just break even on his cost. Just because, like, who here would go if Scott Horton was a guest of a speaker at the conference? Yeah. So I know, Dustin, the difference between Libertarian Party and like the podcast people is Libertarian Party, it's like, oh, who's this guy? And then like podcast people, it's like, yes. So, but I'm gonna move on. Then LP XCOM. So this is second most urgent one. We have a fully staffed XCOM now, which is great, executive committee. However, this person we have as secretary stepped up into the role, not because he wanted to be secretary, but because he felt that if one of the new people was assigned as secretary, it would dramatically increase burnout, and he wanted to decrease burnout, which I do very much appreciate of Chris, putting himself through the ringer for the sake of us new people. With that said, he would love to have someone as an understudy. So you wouldn't officially be the state secretary. So you wouldn't even need to be like a central committee member. You could just be anyone. And you would be given part of the work, probably given a state director role, which will also bump you up on the hierarchy for the national convention, and just given part of the work and kind of shown the ropes. You can learn about it so that hopefully you may run to replace him this spring. The secretary is one of the it's one of the roles that is more important, but has less actual decision-making power. You're in charge of like filing paperwork with the state and stuff. So it's really important, really necessary, but you don't get to like have fun making all these decisions and using your power in weird arbitrary ways, which none of us do anyways. But like I got to submit a really cool financial proposal as financial director, which I know you're all very excited about my financial proposals for Libertarian Party.
Did you already turn in your budget?
Sorry, say it again.
Oh, you're talking about the things that you wanted to do.
Yes.
The other thing that I don't know if they've announced it, but you should prepare your budget for 2022 for this next meeting.
I'm not in the next, I can't make the next meeting. Also, I don't know if I get a budget. Actually, no, they did say, they said I could get a budget if I asked for it.
You get a budget. There's two budgets you turn in, your realistic and your aspirational. So like if shit gets real and we get money coming out our butt, where do you want to spend your money? And if, the bare minimum, realistic and aspirational both.
I have no fucking idea what I want. I'm used to, if you guys don't know, the Ohio Mises Caucus has a fundraising arm and bank account. It's called My Job and My Bank Account. So I'm not used to like having a budget and working with other people's money. Like, what would I buy if I actually had money to do things? Like, what would a financial director buy? Could I get a copy of MailChimp for every county?
Why would you want it?
Because Franklin County would work so much better if we could get more logins for our MailChimp, but it's expensive. I don't know. I don't know what I want.
Put Franklin County on the state CRM and have your.
That is coming out soon. The CRM will be given they plan on giving access to all county leaders.
So Ohio has its own CRM also, which is, so Jim, okay. It used to be that Patrick and Jim handled a bunch of the IT stuff with a couple other people because Ohio has a bunch of really great IT people. But then Patrick had a new job and he's too busy, so he had to like step away, which left some of these vacancies. And Jim also has a crazy busy job right now. So Jim still needs to give me some access so I can help him with some CRM stuff. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know what entirely I should be doing or going on. Helen, you were talking about how like you wish you could do a little bit more stuff at the state level. And it's like, I would love to do more stuff. What should I be doing? Well, it's like, I feel like should we just fundraise for when we can eventually do ballot access? I guess we actually have the ballot access petitions. Maybe just start that drive up now.
Well, that
We have
was
the
the other
district.
thing that I told them we need to talk about, because the gang of 5 that are signed to the petition that we currently have in circulation,
Mhm.
a couple of them are no longer as active as they were. So I'm a little bit nervous about basing
Oh.
our entire petition on people that may or may not show up if we had to go to court or something.
Who is it? I'm actually not sure who the game is.
Patrick and Elizabeth Thomas.
I don't know Elizabeth.
Yeah, well, that's kind of an indication of the problem, the concern that I have.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. But sorry. But totally spiral back around to where we were. The Ohio Executive Committee, Libertarian Party Executive Committee needs a secretary understudy so that we can have a secretary next go around who knows what they're doing. If you want to be secretary and you become the understudy, the job is essentially yours. If you think you may want to become secretary, but you're not sure, this is your best chance ever because you can try it out, but you're not officially in the position, so you can leave at any time without like screwing someone over.
Okay, that does interest me. I just don't want it to conflict with my secretary position with the affiliate, because without me, there aren't enough officers for the affiliate to exist. But
It won't
yeah, I'd
conflict.
be interested tentatively.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't conflict. And once again, if it does conflict, you are, Alan, as a temporary trial run. Honestly, if I could get like 2 or 3 people trying it out, I wouldn't be opposed, because like just knowing how it works is really important.
There's a lot of people in the party who wear multiple hats. So depending on the workload, I wouldn't hesitate to take on a second job.
I think between this and Rotary, I need to count. I'm either at 7 or 8. Actually, no, I might be at 8 or 9 concurrent chair positions now.
Not bad. Might be a record somewhere.
Well, it's the Rotary stuff helps a lot because I do a bunch of stuff for them also. And I was just, hey, you're young, so you know social media. We'll put you in charge of youth services and social media. I'm like, well, I wasn't even in the meeting where they voted on that, which shows you how that works. But hey, yeah, I literally found out when they had like the big ceremony bringing up the new officers. And I'm like, oh, I'm an officer. When did that happen? Did someone tell me about this? No. Okay. So then the last one. So this is gonna be the big clusterfuck. And it is the Libertarian Party of Ohio Central Committee election. The way this is traditionally handled is we are actually on the ballot as a minor party, and we hold official primaries. Like you actually pull a Libertarian ballot and vote for the Libertarian that you want. That makes sense. And yeah, it's pretty easy. You fill out like a quarter page of like 5 lines of paperwork, and then you're on the ballot, and then you probably win because no one else is on the ballot. If that's not the case, it is rough. We go through and in every one of the 15 congressional districts, like pick a location and have members of the state party physically stay there for like 6 hours to like collect the petition, like the votes of everyone who shows up. We need to give notice about who, like, hey, do you want to apply for, like, do you want to run and all this stuff? Do you want to campaign at all? There are certain people that I would, there are changes to the membership of the central committee that I would like to see. I'll put it that way. So, and I am like, we are planning on running as many people of the central committee as we can, because there's no reason not to. And this way, even if changing the state constitution and bylaws to abolish the central committee does not work, the central committee can change the bylaws by themselves and fix it later. So yeah.
Quick question. Are you guys legally not allowed to have, or whether it's because of timeline or because of the way the law is written, you can't have your caucuses at your convention?
Yes, that is correct. We have I think we need to do them with it 30 days before the primary, and our convention is scheduled for after the primary.
So
Okay.
I did post that question in the vote that we have in CENTCOM right now. Because we have a provision in our bylaws for absentee voting, I think we can get away with doing our CENTCOM vote at convention as long as we do an absentee voting provision.
Honestly, if that happened, I would be very happy.
That's the direction that I'm trying to go. I don't know if they'll buy off on it. I have to review the bylaw for that section A.
I
I
mean,
think that because it's not, we don't have ballot access, so I think that gives us more flexibility.
Helen, this is a bylaw thing, not a constitution thing, right?
Exactly.
What's
Some of
what-
it does
what-
come from ORC if you have party status, but we don't have
Yeah.
ballot access. So
What was
why
I
do we
say?
worry about what the state wants to do?
What percent vote do we need to change a bylaw in central committee?
I have to go check.
Is it of seated members, or is it of? I honestly, I think if the bylaw disagrees, I think it would literally be easier to change the bylaw than to schedule these elections. That's not a joke, and I wish it was.
Same.
But yeah, insider baseball, that's what you're all here for. Any questions besides, God, everything's confusing, and what are you talking about? Why are there so many committees? Why do libertarians fight all the time? We don't actually fight all the time. We fight a normal amount of the time relative to other political movements.
Right. At least the libertarians don't kill each other like the communists do. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yep. That would require leaving your mom's basement, Connor, and that doesn't happen.
Not anymore. In the glory days of communism, they were out there. They were out there.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about libertarians leaving their mom's basement. I guess the communists too. Yeah, now you just kill someone on Twitter. It is still like, it is crazy. People don't talk more about a sitting governor being removed over a fake sexual harassment scandal. Like, that is mind blowing to me, and no one talks about it. It's like, you can just remove a governor if you just accuse him of touching you inappropriately. It's like, oh, guess that's how we change governors now. Sorry, what was I looking at? I was looking at the bylaws. Yes, that's what I'm doing. If anyone ever wants to, we have a really great website, and you can just go look at the bylaws. Oh, there's things in the chat. God, I always forget about the chat. What's in the chat? Should we start a Libertarian Party of Ohio podcast? I would hate to do it though. Honestly though, new podcast people, they're not even doing podcasts. They're just posting stuff on YouTube and calling it a podcast. And that is a lot easier. I mean, technically we're a podcast then, if that's all it takes.
Yeah, depending on YouTube is not smart.
Well, you just back up everything to Odyssey, then you're fine. As long as you have, I think, 200 subscribers, something in that range, you can, and at least like 10 hours of video. If you go to Odyssey, you can set it to auto backup everything you do. I was talking to Seamus from Freedom Tunes. He said apparently he doesn't go over to Odyssey because one, he has hard backups of all of his stuff, and two, if you put something in Odyssey, you can never delete it, even as the creator. Instead you can like hide it from everyone, but it's not technically deleted. So someone could somehow get in, like find your hidden stuff. And he was like, I don't want to do that because he posts stuff and has to make corrections and delete the old videos all the time, which is like, I get it. I feel you. That's like all the emails I send out to you guys that are full of errors.
It's the immutability of the library blockchain. Yep.
The one
So
thing
what
that confuses me. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. You were saying you didn't really want to get involved with a podcast, but would we want one? Mark, you usually have a lot to say. It would be a good way to get it out there.
Yeah, it's a thought.
I mean,
Not really.
I'm happy to record a podcast. I can talk for 16 hours straight on any topic, like literally any topic except sports. I don't know anything about sports. And even then I can give you lots of talk about like the meta of sports. It's just, I don't want to do the editing and figure out how and where to post things, any of that stuff. That is just not in my skill set, not in my wheelhouse. I'm a really great podcast guest.
Okay.
But yeah, so if someone wants to, you know what? Maybe that's what my financial director budget will be for. You want $300 for a podcast? Is that enough to start a podcast? I don't know how these things work.
Well, I will say that the Caucus podcast has been really good lately. And Drake, it was kind of what I was saying in that email. If new people, if we could point them towards it. So if they're,
oh yeah, is that not on our incoming email?
The only reason, I don't think it is, because the only reason I knew about it is because I talked to you sometime a few months ago and you told me about it.
Yeah.
And I went and looked it up like on the spot, or I don't think I would have known about it, but it's been really good the last few weeks.
Yeah. So the podcast is Decentralized Revolution.
Yeah.
And I would recommend it because the thing that every time, and I need to find Decentralized Revolution podcast. Every time someone, here, let me share the right screen when this works. So every time someone comes and talks about the Mises Caucus, they're like, oh, I know you guys from like fighting on Twitter, essentially, or some other thing, but they don't know like what the podcast kind of nuts and bolts is. The Decentralized Revolution podcast will actually go through and like interview state organizers and go through like, here are our 3 planks. This is what we actually do. Because that's the thing that frustrates me a lot with a lot of these people, both the kind of more prag side, although they're dead now, and the post-libertarians is like, the post-libertarians are like, really what you need to focus on is local elections. And if you just did that, then like followed the GOP strategy, whatever, like all things worked. It's like literally since day one of our 3 core focuses is local elections. It's been that way the whole time. It's just all you know is what one person with a Mises Caucus banner on Twitter said. And the thing is, we don't even control who has those banners. The Mises Caucus spends a fair bit of time trying to tell people that have our banners to take them off because like they're not part of us. We don't want anything to do with them, you know, and we can't. So like, if you want to actually hear what we have to say, like this is the Mises Caucus, go to the Decentralized Revolution, listen to the podcast. I also will vouch for it being quality stuff. Where was the one? There's one of these was that was fun.
I just
this one was really good.
Subscribed to it the other day, and it's a really good podcast.
Yeah, this was a really good one with the other state organizers kind of going through like, hey, this is what is actually happening in the states, kind of what they're doing. Like, this is what happens if you're coming into a state that is totally dead and the Mises Caucus is literally 4/5 of the party, or this is what happens if you're coming into a really big state that's like kind of like but willing to work with you, which is kind of more what Ohio is, where Ohio is a fairly big state, although we have a high rate of burnout. So we are, there is a really big skeleton infrastructure, but not a really big chugging along functional infrastructure, because we spend all of our time fighting ballot access because fuck Kasich. And so kind of how does it work coming into that? And then also with me not being the most organized, sorry. But yeah, so actually, so would you want me to, Chris, do you want me to throw that on the like the original welcome email, or on like the template that we send out after they've been onboarded through the phone calls?
I think we should send it out on the monthly email, because if we wait,
okay.
it seems like people don't get fully onboarded until we actually like have a conversation with them.
Yes.
And then it sometimes like maybe it takes too long, but if they're on the periphery and they're just sort of vaguely paying attention, and maybe they make one meetup a year because they happen to be free that day, but at least they can be kind of in touch with the caucus through the podcast.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've been doing with the, because I always
and
send out our channel of like these recorded meetings. But no, I'll include it in the next monthly one, and then just add it to my monthly email template.
Well, the other thing is if they have the thing where they're traveling,
Mhm.
like the Human Action tour,
Yes.
if it comes through Ohio and they're kind of in touch and they know, obviously it'd probably be on our event.
I don't actually know how the tour works or where it is. Connor, do you know where the tour is?
The donor call that Michael Heiss was saying, they're only going to do like maybe 3 next year after the convention.
Well, the thing is, the donor calls are always, so I have dinner with my family every Sunday at the same time as the donor calls. So I sometimes listen to the second half of it with my phone playing Zoom while I'm in a car driving, which also means I'm not paying that much attention. So like I miss a bit of that stuff, or also the organizer meeting. There's a meta meeting for all the organizers, and I try to make most of them, and I sometimes make them. You'll know if I'm there. I don't stay quiet long. It's that weapon.
As far as the tour, the last site is pretty much it's going to be after Reno. Plans are still up in the air because they're thinking about changing the model of how it's done, and ticket sales and things of that nature. Because Michael's like, after the turnout was depressed for the pilot event, he was like, I'm not doing this for free ever again. People need to buy tickets so we know that they're going to commit to coming. Because it's like roughly 50% of people who said they would show up actually did show up, which was still impressive. It was still like 200 people, but for what they were expecting, not nearly enough.
You know what they should do? Just do a Kickstarter, GoFundMe style thing of like, hey, if you can get enough interest, we will come to your area. And it's like, and just price places based off, travel costs and everything. Like I assume traveling to Florida is generally pretty cheap, to just as cheap airfare. Or like, I don't know, Arizona is probably a bit more expensive since it doesn't have big international airports or something. And say, if we reach this amount of money of tickets sold, we'll come out.
They made it sound like they were going to pair it with universities that had Austrian economics.
Oh, okay.
George Mason and maybe Hillsdale or Claremont or places like that, more conservative schools. But
not OSU.
I don't know if they had places that had big YAL presence. I don't know. I don't know where those would be. You would know better than I would, Drake.
Yeah, OSU used to have a big one. OSU used to have a medium one, but they were Republican light, which sucks. Almost as bad as Miami. Miami was for. I think Miami's gotten better, but it was bad for a little bit. And then, honestly, YL has taken a beating from the lockdowns.
The UC Bearcats still have an active one.
No, they do, but it is much less active than it was.
The nice thing about that one is the person that is the faculty advisor is an elected libertarian.
Yep. Also, if you ever want to see me, go back and see my old debates. Just go on their YouTube channel. It's a bunch of good nonsense because I was their president for many many moons ago. And Chris Gill was also leadership there. If you're gonna be, their alumni is a who's who of the Libertarian Party of Ohio. But yeah, but it's hard to recruit when things are all online and you can't bring in foods to clubs and you couldn't host events on campus, whatever. And they still exist. They're still trying to do stuff, but it's just, there was a time when there were 30 members showing up to the meeting, and that is not the present, unfortunately. I believe. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm in their group me, so just if someone has a question about economics or whatever, to put them on blast. But I'm just wondering now. So do you feel that you understand the status of the central committee stuff? Of what's going to happen? I guess you understand that it's bloody chaos and up in the air, which is really kind of the big thing, is that I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but whenever we know how it is going to play out, it's going to be really important. And the other thing is that we are going to want to bring as many people out to join the central committee as possible. There will be 30 total seats. They are split up by region. No, mess in the, actually I should pull up the new congressional district map. Let's see. Ohio new. They're split up by region, which is lovely. It's a bit of a pain, but not a massive pain. I think, is that the new one? Does it only go up to 15? I should find a news article about it. That's probably a better idea. Yeah, there's already lawsuits about it. Ohio does have Republicans really good at gerrymandering. No photos in that, unfortunately. But this map exists. We'll need to find 2 people in each district on the map, essentially. Is this just being blocked by an ad blocker? Or is it just loading slow? Oh, no, video. Oh, lovely.
Hey Drake, while you're looking for that, I'm getting ready to drop off, but I did forward you the 2019 top level budget just for your information, so you have something to look at.
Perfect. But I think this, no, it is different. Okay, I can't find it, but just know that it exists, and we're going to want to find 2 people for each region, and especially certain areas be more important than others. And the neat thing with Central Committee is it is a very low commitment role. It is going to be 2 meetings a year, maybe 3, and then like monitoring a chat, like checking a chat channel once every 3 days. Like that's pretty much all that's in it. And if I have my way, you will get to retire at the end of 2023, because that is my plan. Or sorry, at the end of 2022 when it is repealed. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen as I disgrace myself trying to figure this out. Oh,
Is this the one? Is this the one where you're saying it would be like an absentee vote?
yes,
What-
this is the one
Yeah.
that is maybe an absentee vote, maybe an in-person vote. We're still not entirely sure how it works. This is my call saying, know that this will be coming up, and when it does, it will be important, and kind of think about it, especially like if you're in District 3, there's already enough people running for District 3. If you're in District 1, maybe. If you're in District 2, I think that's open season. If you're in this region, there are some people who we would like to gently push out of the party. They've done good work in the past, but this last go around, they just brought a bit of drama and nonsense. Would rather not see that again. And so on, just kind of like, just know we will be looking for Central Committee members. This will be really important. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really all I had. like I said, not the most exciting business meeting. And honestly, I'm just happy that 2022 is about to end.
Oh,
Any
2021.
Whatever.
What are those years?
Something. I don't know.
It's been a long year. Let's put it that way.
It's been a very long year. It's been so long.
Well, it's all an extension of 2020, so
2020 wasn't as bad for me. It got worse. 2020 wasn't good, but 2021 was much worse. Yeah, I think that'd be the big stuff. Actually, one other thing. Anyone left on the call? Actually, wait, is everyone left on the call? An organizer. Actually, not here. I'm actually just gonna end the recording at this point. I don't like to let these run more than an hour, and I think it's about 50 minutes. So if you are watching this on video, you missed the fun part and feels bad. Try harder next time. See ya.